So the amount of your pension that you can use in your business will depend on the method of pension-led funding that we use, although this typically falls somewhere between 50% and 65% of the total value of your pension. You don't need to be 55 to complete pension-led funding. We have clients that have worked with us from the ages of early 30s all the way through to their 70s, and everyone in between. So one of the things you can do with pension-led funding is to combine pension funds from multiple sources, even multiple directors, and even your spouse can be involved in this transaction if they have a vested interest in the success of the business. The interest or return that's paid back to the pension fund will be set according to the risk level of the business investment. However, typically this falls somewhere between 7 and 15%, depending on the method used. I quite often hear people tell me that they've been told that their current advisor isn't able to complete this transaction. Now that may well be the case. Pension-led funding is a highly specialist area of pensions advice and is not a service offered by typical IFAs. So when raising funds for a startup business, it will always be a bit more of a challenge. However, there are routes to complete pension-led funding that can work for brand new businesses. Pension-led funding can be used for any commercial purpose, including the takeover or purchase of an existing business or buying into an established one. The rest of the funds that aren't invested into the business will remain in the pension, invested at an appropriate risk level to your tolerances. So typically for pension-led funding to work, we'd need a collective value of pensions of around £80,000, which can be from multiple pensions, even from multiple directors or spouses. Unlike many alternative funding options, pension-led funding requires no personal guarantees and has first charge security or completely unsecured options available. A SAS, or a small self-administered scheme, can only make a loan to a business. It cannot be used for personal loans. So typically the first step in any pension-led funding journey will be a conversation with myself and the business owner. During that call, we'll look at the component parts of each deal, looking at the business, the pension, and what they're looking to do with the funding. Assuming that all checks out, what we'll then do is put them in touch with one of our qualified technical advisors for further appraisal. Once the advisor has established there is a clear defined route to complete pension-led funding, the client will then have a proposal fully costed and put to them, which will outline the methodology, the amounts that can be raised, the repayment schedule, and any other pertinent information at that stage. From there, the client can make a choice if they'd like to proceed with our proposition or leave it for the time being. If they do decide to go ahead, we'll complete our due diligence to make sure that pension-led funding is suitable and applicable in their scenario and carry the deal out through to completion. The timescales for a pension-led funding deal are, of course, going to be based on the individual circumstances involved. However, the typical timescales of a pension-led funding deal run somewhere between 8 and 12 weeks. So one of the more interesting things a pension can do is to utilise intellectual property to raise funds for businesses. Now that intellectual property needs to be valued by an independent party, which we work with a panel of intellectual property valuers. Once that value has been assigned by the panel, the intellectual property can be used to raise funds from the pension for the business. Intellectual property is a type of asset that a business can own that wouldn't fall under something that is tangible or movable. So whereas a printer or a piece of machinery would be tangible, movable property, intellectual property forms things like copyrights, trademarks, patents, databases, or even website coding or software. This can be used in pension-led funding to raise funds for your business, where traditional security may not be available. You can find more information about pension-led funding on our website, pensionledfunding.com. You can also get in touch on the number on screen or by sending us an email to info@pensionledfunding.com. You can also keep up to date with the latest news from the group on our LinkedIn or our Twitter pages. We'll put links below. Many thanks.